of you who haven't met me, there are some faces there that I haven't met before. I'm Henry Jeffrey, based at the University of Edinburgh, and I lead the policy impact and internationalisation and industrial engagement within the overall SuperGen programme. So I'd like to spend the next sort of 10 minutes or so going through the types of engagements that we have, both at a UK national level, at a European level, and at the wider international level. So starting in the UK, SuperGen has enjoyed over all of its remits or all of its terms a very good engagement with the UK policy and funding sector. We are the only academic input to the ETI and Renewable UK advisory groups for their strategies, so that's something we're very proud of and we find very useful with regard to aligning all the work that you've heard about this morning, aligning that with industry need. Similarly, with regard to Innovate UK, acting as assessors on their work programmes and feeding into the technology innovation needs assessments for DEC, ensuring that the research component of all of those industrial requirements reflect the type of work that has already been done within the SuperGen programme, ensuring there isn't duplication or replication of the very rich knowledge and effort that we've heard about over the morning and in the afternoon. With regard to Scottish Government and UK Government, we have very good engagement both with Scottish Government and with DEC, feeding into their programmes, whether through the MEPB or through the IEA, which I'll tell you about later in the presentation. Similarly, with the Offshore Renewable Energy Catapult, we'll hear a bit from Ignacio in the next session, but Robin leads the research advisory group there, ensuring that there is good connectivity between the work that organisation does and the existing work that's happening within the SuperGen programme. And last but not least, the latest programme in innovation funding for Wave Energy Scotland. We've enjoyed a position through SuperGen members on the strategy and coordination of that group. And I'll say a little bit more about Wave Energy Scotland, but not too much more because we do have a presentation in the next session. As I said, SuperGen staff have been feeding into the overall strategy and coordination of the first two calls. You'll hear about them later with regard to the novel devices and power takeoffs and the landscaping that we'll do. But I think it's worth sort of highlighting that this is almost a new paradigm that we have in wave energy development, a very different and sort of strategic approach by Scottish Government. But I'll leave it at that for now until we move into that dedicated presentation in the next session. Moving to Europe. Similar to the UK, we enjoy a position with SuperGen staff feeding into the European Commission with regard to the design of the Horizon 2020 work programme, and I'll say a little bit more about how we ensure that happens. SuperGen have a seat on the Ocean Energy Europe Board, which is the trade association at a European level. So again, making sure that we're not just aware of what the research needs are within the UK, but ensuring that we're familiar with what the research needs are from industry at a European level. We also hold a position on the advisory board for the EERA programme that brings together European funders to make common funding calls. So we're feeding into the types of funding opportunities that are coming out of that, making sure they're in alignment with the research and industry needs of the UK. EERA, the European Energy Research Alliance, SuperGen staff chair that board, and I'll say a little bit more about that further in the presentation. DTOcean, the latest initiative from the European Commission, the technology platform for ocean energy. Again, SuperGen have a seat on the advisory board. And last but not least, the Ocean Energy Forum, DG MARE, the Directorate General for Maritime Affairs, putting together its strategic roadmap. And I'll pick a couple of these just to say a little bit more about as we go through the presentation. As well as those strategic initiatives at the European level, we're of course involved in many of the actual European projects that come out of these initiatives. So we can see the projects such as Lean Wind, Wet Feet, DTOcean, Mariba, and a couple of these I will sort of highlight the type of sort of engagement in the role that we have either leading or being partners within them. So to say a little bit more about the European Energy Research Alliance, it brings together 9 countries across Europe to ensure that there isn't duplication and replication at a European level of the research that's happening. So making sure that the research that you've heard about this morning in SuperGen isn't being duplicated by Marintech in Norway or Fraunhofer in Germany or Technalia in Spain, making sure that there is sort of a joined up thinking, so we're not duplicating effort, and where there is duplication there is sharing of results, so we overall increase the overall quality of the science that comes out of there. In years gone past we've held an EERA workshop alongside this event. For various reasons that wasn't possible this year, but we will be holding it at the beginning of next year, probably in February, so keep your eyes posted for that, and that will be with regard to the subject area will be metrics with regard to moving from one research stage gate to the next. Because we are 9 countries within this programme, that gives us a voice at a European level. So when I said about SuperGen feeding into the Horizon 2020 work programme, this is the vehicle that allows us to do it. So if Edinburgh University phoned up the Commission and said, you really need to have this in the work programme, they would go, very polite, thanks very much, and probably nothing else would happen. But if 9 countries come together and work with their national contact points to influence and have a neutral, non-partisan route with regard to giving them advice, then they do listen, and those ideas and those topics do get into the work programme. So all of the work topics that you see in the 2016-2017 work programme, the people in this room have had an influence in. Similarly, the role in the Ocean Energy Forum, we've got that through the EERA engagement, ensuring that they're getting an unpartisan, neutral voice with regard to what's happening at a European level. So to say a little bit more about the Ocean Energy Forum, it's got 3 groups about environment consenting, finance and technology, and it's produced its draft roadmap, I think 3 months ago now. The interesting thing to take out of that draft roadmap is it's highlighting areas for increased reliability and performance, everybody would agree with that, testing of subsystems and components, but the thing to take heart from is the bottom bullet point, that both Member States and the European Commission are guided to maintain high levels of innovation and R&D support. Even for sectors like tidal that are starting to become mature, they're recognising that there's still high levels of support required for increased reliability, improved performance and reduced costs. So I would take heart from that. An example of one of the projects is one that Edinburgh coordinates itself, DTOcean, Design Tools for Ocean Energy Arrays. And it's a good example of industry and academia working together. 18 partners from 12 European countries bringing together research organisations, supply chain, utilities, €6 million, and even one partner from the US with Sandia National Lab feeding in its design tool experience from wind. I think the next slide just gives you the sort of richness of the sort of consortium there, and I think it's quite unusual that you're able to see sort of the industry, academia, test centres and supply chain all coming together to sort of bring things into a common research project that is very, very applied indeed. Some of the things you've seen this morning are sort of, the underpinnings of that, and then projects like these are taking that into sort of very applied and industrially used applications. That doesn't happen at a European level. Robin spoke this morning about the long list of companies that SuperGen is engaged with since its inception. I was counting, it goes out of date by almost a week, but I was counting 18 countries and 30 companies that we're actively having research projects with in coordination around the world. One that's one of the initiatives I think that's very pertinent to this sector is the IEC work on the international standards, and many members of the SuperGen consortium in the room here today are either feeding into or leading these standards. I have a selection of them up there with regard to tidal performance and wave performance, the resource assessment, the design tools. There's a much longer list, but that's a very important part as our sector matures, is to ensure that we are working to common standards, and this is the process that we're agreeing this internationally, so there isn't any uncompatibility when we move to sort of an international export market, that everybody is working with the same set of guidelines. I mentioned about our engagement with DEC at a UK level. That gives us the opportunity to represent DEC at an international level, and so SuperGen holds DEC's seat on the IEA Ocean Energy Group, IEA OES. and we now enjoy the position of Vice Chair within that group. As well as sort of having the opportunity to engage with 21 countries internationally and shape their thinking, it also allows us to sort of engage with them with pieces of work. We've just finalised, or I think it's too small to read, but I think in May this year, we finalised an international levelised cost of energy piece of work, making sure that the levelised cost of energy assessments that we have in Europe are valid when we take them to like North America or to Asia. And we're currently working on an international technology roadmap, ensuring that there is technology transfer from the supply chains, not just in the UK and Europe, but overseas. And one final project that we've just started exploring is with EMEC, looking at a global test centre initiative, making sure that there are lessons learned between international test centres. One of an example of one of our very recent projects, and I say this because they're SuperGen researchers just back from Panama last week. They were there running a workshop on a Panamanian roadmap for ocean energy, and it's a good example of how SuperGen staff are sort of influencing the thinking at a very early stage of overseas governments that are taking an interest in this sector. And so they've held a roadmap workshop in Panama last week in order to look at what the opportunities are, either for like deploying devices, development of devices, what supply chain can be transferred from that sector. But there are many other examples that are ongoing. That was just a very recent one. You know, Robin has been in Mexico helping with the establishment of their ocean energy test centre. Similarly in Chile with regard to their centre of excellence. Cameron and Strathclyde have been working with a very efficient and effective relationship with Dalhousie, India, China, and I see Lars has stood up. So the last slide I would like to give is the example of, although this is a great conference and a great way for us to get to know each other, at an international level, then the conference that SuperGen staff have been on the organisation committee of since 2006 in Germany is the International Conference on Ocean Energy, ICOE. It will be in Edinburgh, February next year. And also, although this is a great conference to be at, we'd also like to invite you to be back in Edinburgh again, not in this venue, but at the Exhibition Centre for ICOE 2016 here in Edinburgh. I'm going to stop talking now, but thank you very much for your attention.
This production is brought to you by the University of Edinburgh.